I suspect people will be trickling in throughout the first few minutes of this, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll talk a little bit about who I am, and then we'll jump into a formal presentation. And then at the end, about 15 minutes before the end, I have four of our current students coming to do a panel, and you'll be able to ask them questions. I'll talk a little bit about their experience. They've been in the program now for 5 weeks, so not too long, but long enough maybe to share some of their perspective. So my name is Joanne Snap, and I'm the Director of Health Professions Advising and the new Health Professions Postbac program at UC Davis. I've been at UC Davis for 6 years. Prior to coming to UC Davis, I worked in New York at a large private university where I served as the Director of Admissions for the allopathic med school there. Prior to that, I worked at a nursing college at another private school, and I worked at a podiatric medical school. So my entire professional career has primarily been in health profession settings, working either in advising or admissions. And so I'm very familiar with the whole pre-health world. I even in the admissions arena, I was very close to the post-bac programs that we were affiliated with, and I have always had strong relationships with post-bac or with advisors. And so when I came out to Davis and I was charged with creating a brand new office from scratch, which is what you see behind me, that's our office, our building. Um, I didn't build our pre-health advising office similar to any other California school. What I actually modeled it after were the schools I saw on the East Coast. So I modeled it after Johns Hopkins, Columbia, Cornell, some of the big schools out on the East Coast that are very successful at getting students into health profession school. And so UC Davis has, in the past 6 years, I would argue, grown tremendously in the pre-health arena amongst the California schools and increased its offerings. Well, there was hardly anything offered before. So what we offer now is really amazing compared to what was before. And I would say we're a leader amongst the California schools. So it was a natural progression to create a post-bac program. The idea wasn't a new idea. I've had the idea in my head for quite a long time to create a post-bac program, but it really was instigated by our day-to-day advising appointments. So for the past 6 years, I've been having numerous conversations a day, every single day. Probably 80% of my advising appointments were about GPA concerns and what people need to do in order to be successful at getting into their goals. And so we have a really strong philosophy at UC Davis that we never tell anyone whether they should or shouldn't be anything. It's none of our business if you want to be a doctor, a PA, a PT. We never talk about backup plans or plan Bs or none of that. But what we do is we tell you how to get there. And so for a lot of students who need to do some work after they graduate, we were directing people to various postbac programs all over the state. I became pretty comfortable with all of those programs since I was talking a lot about them. However, each of those programs, in my opinion, had some element of a shortcoming. And so what we did was we assessed all of the shortcomings of those programs, and we tried to create a program that addresses most of those issues, that addresses most of the needs of the students. So that's what I'm going to present to you tonight is this really exciting program that all of us at UC Davis are super excited about. And I hope you are too. And I'm going to share with you what we're doing. And I am really comfortable if you interrupt me while I'm talking. So if you have questions, please feel free to, you could either just unmute yourself, post in the chat. I believe I'm here with my colleague, if I'm not mistaken, Doug. Doug is our test prep instructor. And so he's here with me. He can probably man the chat a little bit.
Yep,
Doug, I don't know if you want to say hi.
I'll say hi. I can't turn on my video, but I'll say hi. And how y'all doing? I'm going to be manning the chat, and I'll take your questions there if you have them. And if Joanne can't get to them, I'll try to answer them there, or pause Joanne and we can get some questions answered there as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, there. Hey, my video's back.
Doug, I gave you rights. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and let's see here. All right. Can anybody not see my screen? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
I can't see it.
I can't.
I can't.
Yeah, it's taking a bit of time to
And
load.
communicate. Oh, you
It's loading.
Looks like Joanne might have gotten knocked out for just a brief moment. You're muted right now, Joanne.
yeah, I saw that. I don't know what that was about. It just, everything shut down and came back up. All right, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, it's working now.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So what I have up here, if you want to get a hold of us, email is the best way to get a hold of us right now because we are not in the office physically. We won't be back in the office until September of 21. So right now we're working remotely. And if you want to talk to us, you could send us an email and we're happy to schedule a time to chat with anybody who wants to talk about their candidacy or about the program further. So let's talk about the big picture overview, and then we'll dive in deeper about all of the pieces I'm about to present. So a lot of people are familiar with the UC Consortium in California. There is a post-bac program already at UC Davis that's tied to the UC Consortium. And this is not that program. So in case anyone is confused about whether they're here for the School of Medicine post-bac program, we are not that. This is a program that serves all health professions. And so the program that I'm referring to, the UC Consortium post-bac program that's offered through the School of Medicine, is a program that's only for pre-meds. And so this program is for everybody, pre-meds, pre-dents, pre-vet, pre-PA, pre-nursing. Basically, we can help you with almost anything. And so that's a huge distinction between our programs. We are a record enhancing program. So I'll talk a little bit about the requirements later, but what that means is our expectation is that you've already completed most, all of the prereqs for your health profession. There are a few caveats to that, but we're here to help build your GPA back up. We have two options for our post-bac program. The vast majority of our students are in our 15-month, we call it the full program. However, every quarter, so we have 4 quarters at Davis, we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. Every quarter, we take 10 students in our single quarter post-bac program. So we call it the single quarter program. And that program is not competitive. You don't have to apply. You basically register. It's first come, first serve. It's a $300 registration fee, and you can register to do a single quarter option. So that would be great for people who maybe don't need as much record enhancing, or maybe they do need to complete some prereqs for their health profession, and it's easier to do it at a 4-year, or some of the courses they need are upper div and aren't offered at a community college. So doing a single quarter option allows you to register for 1 quarter, take 15 to 16 units, and complete the courses at UC Davis. For students who need a complete overhaul of their last year and a half of school, their last 60 units, the 15-month program is the option that most people are looking for. So in our 5-quarter program, some unique characteristics. Most post-bac programs have multiple entry points, which means that you can start the post-bac program in summer, fall, spring, usually those 3. We have 1 entry point each year. So our cohort is always going to start in the January and the winter quarter. So that's the only option. If you don't want to start in January, your only other option is the single quarter option. The reason why we start in January is I wanted our students to have an entire year's worth of academic credit on their application when they apply. So by starting in January, you get 4 full quarters of coursework, which is roughly a little under 60 units of coursework to go into your GPA. That's a significant amount of coursework to complete for a program. So you'll go from January to December doing academic coursework and test prep. In January, so remember our program is 15 months, starts in January, ends the following March. In January, you would take your MCAT, and then we have a whole program designed for the 5th quarter, the winter quarter. We have built-in test prep. So most post-bac programs will partner with a test prep company and sign a contract, and then hand their students over to Kaplan or Princeton or LTS and let the test prep company teach them the test prep. And it's usually 2 to 3 months, and it's usually in the spring or summer. So we actually designed our own test prep. We brought in Doug, who is an expert test prep instructor. He's worked for one of the major test prep companies for more than a decade prior to coming to UC Davis. So we have partnered with Princeton Review to use all of their online resources and their books. However, we built our own, and it will be much more robust than the 2 or 3 months you would get through a typical program. We also implemented a hands-on experiential learning quarter. That's the quarter 5. And the idea of that quarter is to give students some tangible skills that they can take away from the program in order to use for their gap year. So when they complete the program in March, they'll be applying in the spring after that in May or June. So they're going to have 1 year after our program to work using the skills they gained and apply for their programs. We also use a composite letter service, or some people call it a committee letter, and that's only for the full program students. So if you're in the 15-month program, at the end of the program, we will write your committee letter. We basically collect all of your letters of rec for you and then upload that document into your application for you. So you're not scrambling, checking up, making sure people have uploaded. We take care of that with a composite letter. So who are our students? This is a breakdown of our first cohort. These are the folks who applied the summer of 2020, and they just started 5 weeks ago. So I'll just let you take a look at this. And if anyone has any questions about anything that's on here, I'm happy to answer those questions. I expect this year we'll have more applications, and I expect that we won't be interviewing more than that. We interviewed plenty of people for the number of seats that we needed, but I expect the application pool to go up this year. Any questions about this slide before I move on? So this is a chart of our curriculum model. So I mentioned that you would be taking the 1 full year of courses, and most people take 3 to 4 science courses a quarter. And alongside that, you'll be enrolled in a 1-unit course for either learning strategies, test taking, narrative medicine, and medical terminology. That's sequential. And in addition to that, you will be enrolled in a 1-unit test prep seminar, and you'll be doing that all year long. If you're MCAT or if you're DAT, GRETs, you'll take that for 1 or 2 quarters throughout the year. If you came into college and you have a C- or lower, or if you felt like you just need to reinforce the content in either chemistry, OChem, or physics, we designed a 1-unit quarter, or a 1-quarter course, not 1 unit, it's 4 units, 1 quarter course for chemistry, OChem, and physics. They're called chemistry for the health professions, OChem for the health professions, and physics for the health professions. And those courses are designed to teach you the essential material that you'll need in order to be successful on the tests that require. So MCAT, DAT, and so forth. So those courses so far have been the chemistry course has been a huge success. We've recruited one of the more popular faculty at UC Davis to teach the chemistry and OChem, Dr. Brian Enderly. So he's teaching for the post-bac program, and the students love it. It's, for a lot of people, chemistry and OChem was a major barrier. It was sometimes the first sort of like academic blow to their record, where it just really knocked them off. And so being able to take that 1 quarter again and really reinforce that content and be successful in it is such a confidence booster for our students. And so that's there if you need it. And we typically won't require that you take it unless you have a C- in one of those courses. So that's why we require that you can't have more than 1 C- in a series. So for example, if you took at Davis a 3-quarter chemistry series, you can only have a C- or lower in one of those courses, because we can only replace one of those quarters. We can't replace 2. If you have 2 C- or worse, you'll need to take that semester over at a community college before you start our program. We are not putting people in the basic, the chemistry, OChem, and physics series at UC Davis. In the 5th quarter, as you can see, we have what we call quarter 5 and we have tracks. So we have 3 tracks. It ended up being 4 tracks, actually. We have a research track, clinical track, health equity track, and then sort of an other clinical track. And that's for our DAT, or our pre-dental and our pre-vet students. And then in the 5th quarter, you'll also take your exam. So we're planning for everyone to take their exam at some point in the month of January. And then you'll also be enrolled in a 1-unit application prep seminar where you will have me for a quarter, and we'll be building your application. So we'll be doing your personal statements, your letters of rec, talking about your school list, basically everything you need to do. And so we don't want our students stressing about that stuff through the first year, because you're going to have nothing, that's pretty much the only thing you're going to have going on aside from your training, your hands-on experience during your 5th quarter. And that will take a lot of time. So there's no need to worry about that. So one question was, would a 3.3 be too high for this program? No, we actually have a few students who have GPAs in the 3.2, 3.3 range. It's up to you if you wanted to do a post-bac. Oftentimes the overall GPA is much higher than the science GPA. So if your science GPA is significantly lower than your 3.3, that's when people oftentimes consider post-bac. But that's completely up to you whether you do an undergraduate post-bac program or something like a master's degree. So just to be clear, this is not a master's degree. This is an undergraduate post-bac program where all of the grades will go into your undergraduate GPA, your overall undergraduate GPA, not your school GPA, because that's irrelevant. Your undergrad GPA will include every class you've ever taken at the undergraduate level in the history of your life. If you went and did a master's degree, that would go into another line and would not touch your undergraduate GPA. Does that answer your question, Paige? Probably that answer, huh? If we took some of the prereq classes, but not all of them, can we still apply? Do we need to complete those prereqs first? So it kind of depends on what prereqs you're talking about. If you're talking about biology, chemistry, physics, and OChem, you would need to take those before you came to us, because we're not putting students in those courses at UC Davis. So you can't come to us missing half a year of chemistry. We can only put you in 1 quarter of chemistry. I'm not going to put our students in the basic courses here. But let's say you're missing anatomy or you're missing physio. We can do that. We can absolutely put you in the upper div courses if that's what you need. Yep, I'm going to go into the tracks in just a minute. Okay, well, let's keep going. I wanted to, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, will the team evaluate our records? Because I have community college. Okay.
Yep. When you apply to Post-Baccalaureate, you're going to enter in every class you've ever taken, just like you would in your application, your real application. And I will see every class you've ever taken. So when I create your 4-year plan, or your 4-year plan, your 1-year plan with us, I will be able to see what you've taken, what grades you got, and determine what you need. I also know the prereqs for all of your health professions. So I can look, if you're pre-med, and I can look at your transcript and instantly know what it is that you should be doing. Most of our students came in with the majority of, everybody came in with their prereqs done already. Some of them had a lot of the upper div courses done. Some of them had upper div courses on this list that were done, but they didn't do well in them at all. So what I try to do is for the basic ones, like basic to me is biochem, cell bio, genetics, immunology, physio, maybe anatomy. So if you have those basic kind of pre-healthy courses, and you didn't do well in those, I will probably have you repeat them or take another level of it just to reinforce that content, because that's content you're going to come across again in your future and your next step in your health profession school. But if you did all of those and you did really well in those, then you'll be taking other courses like neuroaddictive drugs or advanced physiology or brain disorders or all the things on this list. So these courses are, yep, Carla, just hang tight. I'm going to show you an example of a schedule. So with this program, I have an advising appointment with every incoming student, and we sit down and we talk about it. So I'll say, this is what I came up with for you, this is the schedule I proposed. What would, do you have any thoughts, concerns? And usually the students have some idea about what they wanted to take. Some are like, nope, I trust you, Joanne. Whatever you say I should take, I'll do whatever you say. That's cool too. So it depends. Like some people have ideas of what they want, and that's totally fine. Some things are possible, some things are not possible because some courses have prereqs. So if you haven't taken a prereq for a course, I can't do much about that. But we'll do, we do our best to try to make you happy so that you're taking things that you're interested in. So these are just a sampling of courses. It could change quarter by quarter, but I wanted you to see what some of the names were like. This is an example of what one of my student schedules look like. And so just looking at this might be a little overwhelming, but if you look at the top row, you can see before the student even got to me, I went ahead and created a year-long plan for them. And I left some wiggle room in the fall so that they could pick some different classes if they wanted. But this is a tentative schedule. So I created this and then I had a conversation with the student, and we still have conversations. They have advising appointments with our advisors as often as they need to. And we can adjust this. Our students do not register themselves. So there's no pastimes or there's no like priority anything. We make your schedule and we register you, so you're not chasing down any professors or anything like that. To date, we've been able to get all of our students in the courses that we want, even if the classes are full. So that's been an advantage right now with everything being online. So right now, winter and spring has been online. There might be a little bit more restriction once we're back in person, but the faculty that we've been working with have been really fantastic and welcoming of our post-bac students. So that's been really nice. And you can see after that, the second row is the spring schedule. And so I just continue making schedules and adding it onto this list so that the students can see what's going on. And then they're registered. And once they're registered, they'll have Canvas pages, and then they can get in there and see what's going on. They'll have their syllabi and everything like that. Is that what you were looking for, Carlo? Okay. Any questions about any of this? Let me go back to the chat. Do you come up with a schedule for each student? Yes, I create the schedule for every student. Are there any challenges with getting into classes? Not to date. I haven't had any issues. The only issues I've had are students who don't have the prereqs for some of the courses. So some people wanted to take kinesiology, but they didn't have anatomy done. And the kinesiology professor said that he really wanted them to have anatomy. So we just had to find an alternative. Are all the classes given separately than the regular undergrad students? So no, most of them are with the undergrads, with the exception of immunology, hematology, and then all of the seminars are with me, not with undergrads. And then of course, the chemistry, OChem, and physics, but the rest are mixed in with the undergrads, yes. That's something you want to take into consideration. For example, I know the Berkeley program has their own faculty. They teach everything separate. So if that's something important to you that you're not mixed in with the undergrads, you definitely want to take that into consideration. So far, what we found though is our students are sort of setting the curve for most of the classes. So it hasn't been a real issue in the sense of increased competition. Our students are doing extremely well, which is not great for the undergrads. Are there any opportunities for research? We're going to talk about the tracks in just a few minutes, but you will not be doing research throughout the program. And the reason why you're not going to be doing research throughout the program is because you're taking 4 science classes at the same time. And I don't know if you have normally taken 4 science classes as an undergrad at the same time. You can post in chat if that's something you normally do. But the fact that you're here learning about a post-bac program tells me that you probably didn't do so hot if you took 4 science classes at the same time. And so post-bac is an opportunity to show the world and prove to yourself that you can handle a rigorous science course load. That's what you need to do in order to be successful on this path. And so what I'm going to highly recommend is that you not be engaged in anything aside from school when you're doing the program. The 5th quarter is designed to give you a little bit of experience, but this year you're here to get the A's. That is it. You've had 4 years of college. That's when you get to do all your fun stuff, your research, your clubs, your clinics. Now you're here to get the A's because you have to. That's what this is all about. If you already answered this, what is the required number of of until, oh, there's not a required number of units. Most students are taking something like what you see up here, but there's not a unit requirement. A couple of students ended up dropping a class after the, before the drop date because it was a little intense for them, which is totally fine. It's, we pack it on, and then if you have to drop, that's totally fine. Okay, so our tracks, we have 3 tracks, 3.5-ish tracks. Our research track is for people who have no prior research experience. So this is not a program that if you've already done tons of research as an undergrad, you get to waltz into Davis and just get another research lab. You're only going to be in the research arena for 3 months. So there's no way you're going to get a project or anything from that experience. This is to give people some skills so that if they want to do research after they graduated, they can get a job easier. So if you've never touched research for 4 years as an undergrad, you've never learned a pipette, you never used R, you've never done any data analysis, you have no concept of what any of that stuff is, this is a place to learn. So we put you in some courses throughout your year, and then we'll put you with a researcher in your quarter 5 so that you can get a sense of what research is about, add something to your resume so that you can potentially get a research job. That's something I really want to stress because we had some people come in with significant amounts of research wanting to do more research, and that's not what this is about. For health equity, this is an opportunity for people who either have an interest or have an interest but have never touched any work in this area. So you'll be taking a graduate level nursing course with the nursing and PA students called Race and Health. There will also be other opportunities throughout that quarter to possibly take another course depending on what your interests are, and we're working with each student, or do some type of internship. And so those are going to be very student specific. We only have 7 students in the health equity track this quarter. We have to cap it at 10. So it's a very small group, and because of that, we're able to really tailor that experience to the needs of the student. You select your track when you apply for the program. So when you fill out your post-bac CAS, you will select when you apply. And unless the only track that there's any limitation on is the health equity. So if we've already hit the cap for health equity in that application cycle for deposited students, we just let you know that that track is full. You have to pick a different one. And truthfully, we've had so much movement after everybody started. We've had people who switched from one track to another, so it ended up working out. And then the last track, which is our most significant track, is the clinical track. And that is, we have a partnership with the UC Davis EMT program. So our students during the last quarter will go through the full EMT course at UC Davis and be ready to take the licensing exam at the end. So the tuition for the program covers your training for the EMT. It covers your books and everything related to the course. It does not cover your test registration. So if you want to be licensed, you have to register and take the test yourself. And that's because it's a state exam. And so we can't be involved in registering you for that kind of exam. So you would do that. If you are already EMT certified, fortunately, the EMT program has a lot of additional certifications in some pretty cool areas. And so they have agreed to take our EMTs and basically put them through these little mini courses that give you lots of additional certification. So you'll leave the program sort of like an EMT on steroids, like a souped up EMT, which is pretty cool. So all the ones who are in that position are pretty excited. They were all like pretty impressed with the things that they're going to get to do with them. Yeah, no problem. Let me read your question out loud. If we register and the application, oh, this is for the single quarter. If we register and the application takes our application deposit, does that mean we submitted before the cap? Yes. So once we hit our cap, you will not be able to register any longer. We close it down as soon as we get close to that. So yeah, if you register and pay the $300 for the single quarter, then you're in the program. And then, okay, so for the last track, we have some pre-vet and pre-dental students, and those students will be placed in experiences related to their particular interests. If you are pre-med and you just say, oh, I have a different interest, not EMT, that's not an option. I'm not going to find 15 different random experiences for everybody. We have a really amazing option, the EMT option, for everybody who is pre-med, pre-PA, or pre-nursing, unless you want to be in one of the other tracks. Not really dental assistant or lab tech experiences per se. What I'm looking at right now is some type of dental research experience at a dental school. So we're working on building those partnerships now. Any other questions about the Q5 track? No. One of the other components to this program that I think is probably most valuable is the advising component. And I think that the reason why this is so valuable is yes, you can literally take the classes and get the A's all by yourself, but there's so much that goes into the process of preparing for the test, preparing, just getting through the classes, and then of course, preparing your application. And specifically Joanne, that's me, Brielle, Doug, and myself, we bring so much, I would say, enthusiasm. Like, we're just so excited to do this work and experience. So you're not ever going to feel like you're doing this on your own. We worked so hard to create a strong, tight cohort. Our students are studying together. We have a very active Slack channel for the program. There's just a lot of camaraderie amongst the advisors and the students. And it's just been so much fun to see that. Chelsea is our student services coordinator. She's amazing. So she helps with everything related to registration, getting VPN access for libraries, financial aid, getting all of your loans processed. She's everything related to student affairs, and she's also fantastic. Let me read. Oh, Doug's answering. The advisement is most appealing because being first gen. Yeah, well, thank you. I think that's one of our strengths. I'll try to steal Doug's thunder here, but Doug, feel free to unmute yourself if I get it wrong. This is what we offer in terms of the test prep. Again, this is coming from Princeton Review, mostly. The TEAS is an independent source, but you basically get online access, you get practice tests, you get 4 quarters of Doug prepping you. The test prep is not just content. So we're not here to just teach you what's on the test. The reason why we do this for so long, we do the test prep for so long, is so many students come into this program with a lot of emotional baggage from the trauma that they experienced as undergrads. And a lot of people will say, I'm not a good test taker. I have test anxiety and just so many things, negative things about themselves as learners. And so we have to first battle that. We have to get you through healing from that trauma so that you can embrace being the kind of academic, the type of learner, and the type of test taker that you need to be in order to be successful on these tests and in your classes. So we spend a lot of time with you because, yes, we're going to teach you the content on the test. We're also going to teach you the strategies of the test, and we're going to teach you how to take the test. We're going to do a lot of test practice so that you can replicate the testing environment. We're going to work on your self-efficacy as it relates to test taking. There's just so much psychological stuff that goes into all of this. And so we want to have you for a long time in the test taking strategies seminars so that we can help build you up and make you confident in your ability to take the test. Did I miss anything, Doug?
The only thing I want to add to that is that literally everybody is going to have a different test prep process. And so I will I'm working with everybody individually, and we're just starting to put together their study schedules right now. And everybody's got a little bit different there, a few differences here and there. And so we're here to, this isn't just a package. This isn't just a canned deal, which you're going to follow a schedule. You're going to develop a schedule with my help that works for you. And that's the biggest thing, is that no schedule is going to look the same.
Yep. Do you want to talk to them about the inventory that you created for our students to take?
Yeah, so as students come into the program, I have everybody take a content inventory in their relative respective fields. So if it's medical, you're going to be getting a content inventory in GChem, OChem, physics, biochem, and psychology, sociology. If it's GRE, it's really going to be limited down to vocabulary and math. If it's whatever test type it is, it's going to be specific to that. And that's going to help us understand where you're currently at with your content level and help us, direct your content studying a little bit more appropriately. So if you're already doing very well in physics, then or maybe I'll pick a different subject. You're already doing very well in biology, then maybe you double up some time on physics that you would take, rob biology to study physics, so that you're putting the time where it's most effective. How many hours of studying each week should your students be studying to do well? Given the way this is set up, not very many in the whole grand scheme of things, because we have it spread out so we've spread it out so that you can focus on the classes. You have to get good grades in a program like this. That's the goal, right? So we want you to not lose the effort towards the classes and still be studying a little bit low key during the quarters, and then during breaks and getting closer to the test, like that last quarter, you're going to ramp it up a bit, and you're going to be doing more in the way of like, okay, you're going to do an 8-hour practice test in a week, plus the review of that, and then some other things on top of that. So, start out with small number hour commitment, maybe an hour a day commitment, and bringing it up as time progresses, as you get more comfortable in the program. Does that answer your question, Carlo?
For your classes, you should be studying about 40 hours a week.
Is that answered half?
Half this question, maybe.
Okay, got it.
That's good. So yeah, so you're gonna be spending most of your time studying, period, in this program. That is part of the identity of being a post-bac student, is learning to study in effective ways, and that's what we talk a lot about in our seminars. And like I said, rebuilding the belief that you have about yourself as an academic. And I'll let the students, and if any of you want to ask the students about that process, feel free to ask them. I think that they would probably be much better spokespeople about how they've grown over the last 5 weeks. So just talking about admissions for a few minutes before we have our students join us. We're looking for students around a 2.8 verified post-bac GPA. And so again, that's every course you've ever taken, not just your college GPA. Sometimes people have courses they took in high school or community college, or courses they didn't transfer in to their university. If you have courses that weren't on your university transcript, those are also going to go into that GPA. We talked about the C- or lower in a series. So it's not that you can't have more than 1 C- total on your transcript. It's just that you can't have more than 1 C- or lower in a series. And that's because most schools require a C or better. So if you have 2 C- in a series, you're going to have to repeat that anyway, because you're going to need to have, like, let's say you have 2 C- in chemistry. You're going to need 1 year of chemistry. So that would be, you're going to need to take a semester of chemistry at a community college to get enough chemistry to meet the requirements. I would still put you in our chemistry course, because if you have 1 semester and 1 quarter of chemistry, that's not a year. You need 1 semester and 2 quarters of chemistry to make a year. So that's the kind of stuff we talk about. That's the kind of stuff I catch, and hopefully make sure that you are on track so that you don't finish the program and then realize you were short anything. At this point, we are requiring that you have a degree from the US, and that's primarily just because we don't have any way of sponsoring international students at this time. So we don't have a CVIS office, or we can't issue I-20s for international students. We do accept DACA, we do accept undocumented students. And I think that was it. You're going to apply through Post-Baccalaureate, so we don't personally take your transcripts or anything like that. So you're going to send everything to Post-Baccalaureate, your letters, your transcripts, and they're going to give us a verified application with all of that information. We would like to see 2 letters of recommendation, and only one of those I would like to be from a science professor. I know that for a lot of people, Getting a letter from a science professor is really stressful, because either, I hear this all the time, either you didn't do well enough in your courses to ask for a letter, or you just never built relationships with your faculty, and so you don't feel comfortable asking. But here's the thing, when you get to me, I need you to immediately be able to talk to your professors. I don't have time in a one-year program to get you up to speed in terms of how to talk to a professor. So you have to come into the institution and to the post-bac program already capable of literally having a conversation with the faculty. You might be surprised to learn how many students are terrified of having conversations with their faculty. I don't blame you. I don't blame those students, but it's a skill that we need you to have done before you get here. So that's why we require one letter from a science faculty. I don't need that letter to say you did amazing in the class. I don't need that letter to say you got an A in the class. I just need that letter to say that you tried. That's all. If someone can say that you tried really hard in their class, and even if you got a C, that's good enough, because what that says to me is that you at least had a conversation with that faculty and asked for the letter of rec. If you tell them you're applying to post-bac programs, they're going to know that you're applying because you needed the grade enhancement. So that's the rationale behind that requirement. I'm not going to waive that, because I think it's important for you to get that for the purpose I just stated. If you are listening to all this and you're thinking, well, I only have like a 2.5 or a 2.6 GPA, am I going to get accepted? Truthfully, we do take a holistic approach to reviewing applications. We are probably not going to fill the majority of our class with people below a 2.8, so there would have to be some extenuating circumstances. But I will say, we have the single quarter option, which is great, and it's worked out great for a lot of students who are in that situation. They have 2.5 GPAs, they're not getting into any post-bac programs because most programs want to have a 2.8. So for us, you can come in and do the single quarter option. You could do it 5 quarters in a row if you want to. The only difference is you're not going to be able to do the 5th quarter track, which if you have that low of a GPA, you probably don't need to worry about the 5th quarter. You probably need another quarter worth of grades. And you're not going to get the committee letter, but you can still benefit from being, getting the coursework done and having access to us as advisors.
Joanne, there's a couple of questions on letters of rec.
Sure. Yeah. Is the rec also no? So single quarter students, there's no requirements. It's not a competitive program. You can just register and come.
And is there a benefit to sending in more than 2 letters of rec for when applying to the post-bac?
Nope. No, we're not going to give somebody bonus points because they have 8 letters of rec.
That should get us caught up.
Okay. And this is, like I said, we are in the post-bac CAS system, and the application will open May 1st. We are rolling, so we will start reading applications early when they arrive, and we start inviting people to interview early in the season. So we do we do interview every person that we accept. And the reason is we want a very tight-knit cohort, and we're looking for attributes that will make students successful down the road. So we are very focused on your success. We want you to be able to get into the program once you are finished with ours. So we're screening based on admissibility. If we believe we can help you get in based on the attributes that you present in your interviews, you'll be more likely to get into the program. So I would strongly recommend that you apply early. If you wait till July 22nd, there's a very high probability that our program will already be full by that point. So that's what happened last year. And so, yeah, it's always good in this cycle to apply early. When you apply to med school, vet school, dental school, you're going to apply early. So it's good to get in the habit of doing it. And then, make sure you send everything by the deadline. You cannot submit on the deadline and then still be missing documents. You have to have everything into the application by the deadline if you're a deadline kind of person. So that was an issue last year where people were submitting their apps at midnight on the last day and they didn't have any documents in, and so their apps were not verified and they got pretty upset. And so there's a program fee down below.
A couple questions.
Yeah.
Are official transcripts required at the time of applying, or can unofficial transcripts be sent in until official transcripts are ready? upon graduation?
Post-Baccalaureate won't verify your application until you have your official transcript, so that's not up to me. I only see official or verified applications. Verified applications are those that AMCAS delivers to us. Does that make sense?
Post-Baccalaureate.
Post-Baccalaureate, what did I say? AMCAS?
Yes.
Yeah, because I have my head in two worlds right now.
Yeah. If I enroll in a single quarter, would I be able to apply those credits to a 5-quarter program if I'm chosen to be a part of it?
Well, you would have to wait and apply during the normal cycle. You don't get to just hop into the 15-month program. When you say apply, every course you've ever taken in the history of your life goes into your post-Baccalaureate GPA. So it's not that you apply them towards it, nothing transfers. Those just go into your GPA, which is great. So if you have a 2.5 and then you do 2 quarters a single quarter, hypothetically, you've raised your GPA up to a 2.8, then you would be eligible for our post-bac program. Is that what you mean by that? Let me see if I'm understanding. So Lisa, you're saying you're currently in a class that ends May 18th. Your app won't be verified until that is, it's not that the grade is required, it's that your official transcript has to be sent to Post-Baccalaureate. So if you want your application to be verified and delivered to us, you have to send all of your official transcripts to Post-Baccalaureate, even if your courses say in progress. We can follow up with you to find out what your grades are. But if you want your application verified, then you would want to make sure you send your transcripts.
Okay, next question. Can prereqs be in progress during the application, i.e. tackling a semester of OChem while in the application process?
Yes. Yep, that's totally fine.
I would just add that as long as it's not like 5 of them, just like 1 or 2 classes, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to have most of them done. Like you can't usually take OChem or one of those unless you have the other ones done.
All right. Is there financial aid available for this program?
We are only able to accept private loans at this time. So there isn't any scholarship as far as I know for most post-bac programs, but no, aside from private loans, no.
I'm going to add this one to the chat box. I just learned about it. Scholly, look up Scholly. They have some financial assistance, not huge amount of money, but any little bit can help. It's just a scholarship website where you might be able to find some kind of need-based scholarships for pretty much any purpose. So that's a nice place to look.
Nice. Rosora, I want to make sure we're clear about which post-bac program you're learning about right now. So this is not the UC Davis Consortium post-bac. We're not affiliated with the School of Medicine. You might be thinking about the School of Medicine post-bac program, which is offered through the consortium application. So this is a separate program offered at the undergraduate campus. And we go through post-bac-CAS and we serve all health professions. So sometimes people get confused about which program they're learning about. So I just want to verify that.
So next question. If we're currently in a physics class that ends in May, our app won't be verified until it is official and sent to post-bac-CAS.
Doug, can you answer that?
So I think that, yeah, I think I read that really fast. So what I think that's asking is if we're currently in a class that ends May 18th, you will have to wait to put you can get your application in, but your transcripts aren't going to hit until after you graduate. So it's going to just delay the time that we're going to be able to see your application from post-bac-CAS just a little bit. So
yeah, if you want to wait till your grade hits, which I assume would be like the end of May or beginning of June, then you can. I mean, that's still early enough in the cycle. So you can just wait for your grades, your spring grades to hit and then send your transcripts, if that makes sense.
okay. And regarding the transcript question, can we still apply in May if our degree is not conferred until June?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have to send transcripts for a single quarter, even if you're a UCD alum?
Yes, it would ask you to upload them. It doesn't have to be official though.
Okay. What percentage of the courses are online? Pretty much most of them right now. Until next year, we don't know. I will answer that and say we're going to see more being in person, but we just don't know at this point what the whole world is going to look like. So we'll have to give that a definite maybe. Let's see, we're going to start.
I'm going to quickly wrap up because we have our panelists here
Okay.
tonight. I want to respect everybody's time. So just quickly, we were talking about loans, but this is the overall price of the program. So that includes the cost of the classes, the EMT training, the advising, the test prep, all of that cost is wrapped up into the tuition. So you might be surprised how much a post-bac program costs to run. Test prep alone is pretty expensive. So this is what we charge. I don't know if we have any questions about that. Okay, so I want to ask my students who are here. It looks like we have Alex, Rachel, and Vicky. Would you all like to turn on your cameras? Yay. All right, thanks so much for being here. I know, oh, look at Vicky has her awesome shirt on representing. I know you all are busy and you're stressed with midterms right now, so thank you so much for taking time. How about we start, if you all can unmute yourselves and just quickly tell us what you're pursuing, what college you went to, and anything else you think is relevant up front just for them to know about you. You want to start, Vicky?
Hi, I'm Vicky. I am doing this program because I want to get into vet school. Yeah, and I've applied 3 times already and I didn't get in, and so this is my hope. But essentially, I didn't have a very good GPA going in, and so I need to work on that a lot. But the program is super helpful. Everyone's super supportive. Everyone in the program, all the students, and I was quite nervous in the beginning about how it was going to go in terms of being an online format and trying to make connections with people. But because everyone's kind of in the same boat, everyone makes an effort to create study groups and connect with each other. And I'm starting to put faces to names without seeing them, which is nice. So, and all the advisors are also super nice. That everyone's just great. There's
Where
no
did you do your
complaints.
undergrad?
I did my undergrad at UC Davis.
Okay, thank you. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I went to UC San Diego for undergrad. I graduated in 2016. I applied to medical school last year and I didn't get in, but I didn't really have a great GPA and I'd taken the MCAT a couple times and actually worked for a couple years too. So, now that I'm a couple years out, I realized, all right, this is something I really do want to pursue. I do want to go to medical school. So, this program has been, I know it's only been half a quarter, but honestly, all the advising staff, they're people you can really rely on. And like Vicky was saying before, like everyone in the cohort is working really hard to make connections and form study groups and just be on Zoom whenever we need to. So you really feel like you're making a lot of friends along the way and it's not like you're alone in this process. So I personally am really enjoying my time so far.
And I'm not paying them to say that. Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Alex and I went to University of Colorado Boulder. I graduated in, don't be scared, 2009. And 2013, high school in 2009. I worked at Genentech for 7 years and I still have the passion to pursue PA. Physician's assistant. So I applied to the program, didn't really know what to expect, took a leap of faith, and it's been amazing. 100% recommend. This program is one of a kind. Joanne, Doug, Chelsea, everyone who is behind the scenes is always there for help. And it has been super positive so far. We're only 4 weeks in. So thank you guys. And I would highly recommend it if you're thinking about it.
Awesome. So we have about 38 attendees here today, and I wanted to give the attendees an opportunity to ask any questions of students who were in your boat a year ago, who were considering programs and probably applied to other programs too, and we're doing some analysis or comparison. And I'm wondering if any of you have any questions about how like what the application process was like applying through Post-Bac has, or how these our students just like made that decision, or anything related to the application process. Does anyone have any questions like that? And I think you're all able to unmute yourself, so feel free to do that if you'd like.
So our first
Sorry,
So our
go
first
ahead.
question is, how are you ladies paying for it?
So I had a couple of sources. I saved up money from working for a couple years, took out loans, and then my mom was nice enough to help as well. So there's a couple ways. And I applied for a couple scholarships, but I didn't get any. So you got to figure it out. But it's compared to other programs, this is definitely one of the cheaper ones, considering like that was one of the reasons why I chose Davis as well, because it is a little bit longer, only a couple months compared to most programs, which are like 9 months. But for 9 months, you're paying usually about the same, if not more. Whereas here for 15 months, you're only paying $30,000. I know that's not insignificant, but it's more bang for your buck for time wise, I would say.
Vicky or Alex, you have anything to add to that?
I also graduated in 2013 and have been working since then. So I saved up all my money because I was anticipating going to vet school. And so that's just, it's self-funded.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I did save money as well, but I did go through Sally Mae until like the very end until I figured out I was going to be able to pay for it. And Sally Mae is awesome. They are very quick to approve any loans and work with the people at UC Davis. If you guys have any questions about that, they're Chelsea and Joanne and Doug. Everyone is so happy to help you guys out and make sure you can pay your way through whatever you guys.
I would say a large proportion of our students are using private loans to cover the cost of the program. We've had a couple of students who at the beginning weren't approved for private loans, and so they decided to take a year to defer their acceptance and work full time for a year to save their money to apply for it. So that does happen sometimes, but it, usually works out. So kind of go into the chat. I'm looking at some questions that are over here. 2022 is not scheduled to be online as of right now unless something worse happens. But right now we're supposed to be back on campus in September of 21. I've never been to Davis. Is the cost or quality? How is the cost of and quality of living? So Rachel, you just moved from San Diego to Davis. You want to talk about that experience?
Significantly cheaper than San Diego. So, I mean, like San Diego, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment by myself and I was paying $2,200. That didn't include utilities and all that stuff. I mean, I was working, so it was okay. But now that I'm a student, but I live in a 2-bedroom with a roommate and we pay $2,000, less than $2,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment that's in a great area. So it's definitely cheaper, but there's still normal grocery stores like Trader Joe's or local markets, farmers markets, things like that. But it also depends like what you do personally for your expenses and things like that. So just set a budget for yourself and stick to it. Definitely. But it's cheaper than Southern California.
Davis is considered a little bit more pricey than some of the other areas and cities in the area. Vicky or Alex, do either of you live in Davis yet or around the area?
Yeah, I actually used to live in Davis until last year, and I would actually compare it a little bit to Boulder without the mountains. You get the hippie vibe, you get the food, the farmers markets, you get the eclectic people, you get the college town. So it kind of has everything. It's a little bit different now because of the pandemic, of course, but I think once everything gets back rolling, it's a really awesome town with walking, biking, hiking. You have Napa really close. You have Tahoe. You have the city. It's like pretty much in the middle of everything. So highly recommend.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go Vicky.
When I lived in Davis for my undergrad, I liked it quite a lot, but I'm not much of a city person. And I really liked the college town atmosphere, and it's like being surrounded around a bunch of like-minded individuals. Like you don't often run into someone who just doesn't really think like you, because I think the town population is 60,000 and the student population is 30. So literally everyone in the town is a student or of similar
faculty.
Yeah. And so during like winter break in the summer, the population drops significantly, but except for now, I think I hear it's pretty much a ghost town right now. But yeah, I really like living there. It feels an easy place to call home for me because I like suburban neighborhoods.
And I
Let's
guess
switch gears. Oh,
Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go for it. Well, just to say, like, it's really helpful having people all in the same place doing the same thing. So it's really easy to focus and do what you're doing. Because the whole point of doing a post-bac is you get in, you're here to work hard and like rectify your past, right? So just it's a good place to focus for 15 months. So that's what I
Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk for a few minutes about what a typical day looks like. So tell them about what a typical study day looks like, or just typical day.
Well,
What's life
I
like
guess I
right
could
now?
share my day today, and I think probably Vicky and Rachel will agree. But I woke up at I'm an early riser, but I woke up at like 5:30, made coffee, opened up my email, started studying for anatomy because it's midterms right now. Studied pretty much all day with a little bit of breaks in between, a little bit of other homework in between, little bit of study groups with Rachel actually, and then I had dinner and now I'm here. So it's pretty much a 9 to 5 full time. You're here to work hard. You want to get those good grades, and that's why you're sacrificing kind of your life for it, but it's also to, pay off for where you want to be in the end. I don't know, Vicky or Rachel.
This past week, I had 2 midterms this week and 1 next week. I would describe I'm not an early riser, but my earliest class is 9 a.m. and my typical day is between classes and studying groups. I go 9 to 2, 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. generally. So I am studying quite a lot, and I feel like I didn't study very much during my undergrad, and I'm making up for that. And I want to make sure that I don't want to just like an A- is not good enough for me type of thing, because it doesn't technically count as a 4.0. So I want to make sure that I shoot above the 100 so that I could at least fall into the range of 95. And so that's what I'm putting in right now.
Wow, Vicky, that's very impressive. I didn't know that. But for me personally, like I get up between like 5 and 6 a.m. I go exercise because that's really something I find important to budget into my time, because I find that if I don't exercise, I'm like really irritated and I can't focus. And then, after you exercise, and usually I have like an 8 a.m. class, so I'm doing something from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. at night. And whether you have to budget in, like Joanne and Doug and everyone have always said, like incorporate breaks into your schedule, whether it's like taking your dog for a walk or doing something. But most of my time I'll spend a couple hour blocks of whether it's studying or reviewing content or meeting in study groups. And it's good to change things up. So that's usually what we're doing. It doesn't feel like you're studying for 10 hours straight. It just feels like, okay, this hour I'm doing something, this hour I'm doing something, but it is like studying in class is usually what is happening.
It's a full-time job.
I do eat. I do take my dog on walks, so it's not straight studying. I do take like 1 hour breaks here and there.
But you're not doing other things right now, right? You're not working, you're not doing extracurriculars, you're focusing on. Okay. So someone said, do you work even a little bit? There are some people who, despite our strong recommendations to not work, are working. And they're adults at the end of the day. They're going to make the decision that's best for them. I know that if I invested that much money in something, I wouldn't jeopardize it at all. It's a lot of money to spend on something. And so I would want to make sure that the money that I spent on this ends up paying off. But that's my personal belief. And I would never encourage anyone to work while you're doing this, because it's a lot. We make it a lot on purpose because I want it to be worth your money. Is there anyone in your cohort who has a spouse or kids? I can answer that. We have quite a few married people, and we have, I think, 2 or 3 people with children. Is that right? You don't know? Didn't come up in conversation? Yeah, we definitely have 2 people with children, with multiple children, and I know that I know of at least 3 people who are married. Did you all work on experiences in your respective fields while saving up and working? I think you all said yes to that. And then there were a couple of questions about the application. So aside from the advisors and the tracks and the flexibility, was there anything about this program that stood out to you, I guess, in terms of why you selected it?
I do have, so for me personally, I actually had applied to a couple other programs that were starting in August, and this program was starting in January. And so, you know, I like stumbled upon the Davis Postbac program, just, I don't know, I was Googling or something, and I noticed that, oh, they're like accepting applications. I don't know if it was in August or July for the first cohort, but it would have been later in the deadline. Like I would have had to have decided to go to another postbac program. So what I did was I reached out and emailed Joanne, Doug, Brielle, and I said, hey, like, is there any way you guys could accept applications earlier? And they did. So for me, that was a really big sign saying that, wow, these people are willing to listen and open to be flexible and change the pace. And that to me meant a lot because some other programs weren't really willing to do that. So that demonstrated to me that, okay, these people are going to go above and beyond for me as an applicant, and they're really going to push themselves to make sure I do well. So like, I just knew I was going to be supported in this environment, and I definitely have been. So that's for me why it was like the biggest pull point to come to Davis.
You were the first person we interviewed and the first person we accepted. Let's see, does anybody else want to answer that? I don't know what
I was just
that
going
is.
to piggyback on that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I was just going to say from the very second that I opened the interview and I was so nervous, you know, it's on Zoom. And
Alex, I think you might be cutting out.
yeah, sorry, go ahead. I'll just type it into the chat.
Okay. So there's another question about, I think Rachel, you touched upon this in terms of why would someone wait till January to do this program versus like being able to start a whole semester earlier in the fall? Vicky, was that an issue for you too? No? Okay. Rachel, you want to take that one then?
Yeah, sure. So I think if, at least because I want to apply to medical school, the applications open in June, I think June or May. And most postbac programs go from like September, August to like July. And so when they finish, you're applying late in the cycle. So, and all of them do this, every single one of them. And I was like, why would I want to feel rushed? And I haven't even finished my coursework. How can I demonstrate that I'm a good applicant with only a semester's worth of work? Well, so this program, yes, it starts in January, but it ends the following March, which means you have a couple months to prepare your application and get ready and to submit. And I'm not sure about like dental school, nursing school, pre-health, or like all the other ones, but or at least for medical school, that was a really big pull factor for me as well, because it's like you have so much time to prepare. So the more time you have and the earlier you apply, the more advantage you have.
This was the only post-bac program that I applied to. I thought applying to UC Berkeley also, and I looked into a few other ones. I live in the Bay Area right now, and a lot of them are pretty hands-off. And this was the most hands-on one that was available, which is, I liked it extremely a lot. They pretty much set you up for success in every realm that they can think of. And in addition to that, I want to go to UC Davis for vet school, and if you might as well make the connections there. And but yeah, the amount of hands-on that all the advisors put on, they put all that effort into you was just by far the thing that made it the most worth it for me.
So we always say that maybe to a fault, we are very, very driven for you to be successful. I mean, that's at the end of the day what this is all about. And if you all get in and you're successful, you go on to PA school, vet school, medical school, we're going to look good at our jobs. So why would we not do everything in our power to help you on that journey? It doesn't make sense to me for any program that wouldn't do everything in their power, because their existence depends on your success. So yeah, that's that. I mean, of course we're going to help you in every way. That's what you're here for, right? That's what we're doing. Any other questions for our 3 students before we wrap it up tonight? I know it's getting late. Oh, thanks for that long post, Alex. Considering the competitiveness of entering the program, how can one distinguish themselves for a better chance of being accepted? I don't know if you all know the answer to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like just be yourself, and your own voice does come out when you write essays. At least that's what I find. Like I always felt at some point like, oh, like what makes me special? Like I feel like I'm like every other pre-med in the world. But if you can talk about your experiences passionately and with legitimate or genuine passion, then it's like, okay, it definitely comes out in whatever you're writing. And like specific things are highlighted and people read that and it comes across. And don't be scared to tell whatever story that you have and why it was meaningful to you. So I know that's kind of vague, but your voice comes out, I promise. Just do your best.
I had a little bit of practice with writing applications already. And the best advice I can give is to have other people help you. Ask for help in every realm that you can. Ask people who are writing you letters of recommendation, like what motivated them to get where they are. And ask any friend you have, like more than one friend, at least like three or four people, to go over your essays and say, like, just have different perspectives of how they look. Just practice everything and just ask for help. Just endlessly ask for help.
I'm not sure if my internet's working, but I was just going to say one of the most meaningful things that I did was I knew that I wanted to be a PA. I knew that I wanted to do the career change. I knew this and I knew that, but you always second guess yourself. So I actually asked like 4 of my closest friends, why do you think I would be a good PA? And their reasons matched mine. And I was like, this is real. Like, and I actually used it in my interview. So I think if you really have the passion and drive for what you want and you know this post-bac program is for you, that will come across in your interview and it will be so apparent and the whole team will see it. And I promise if it's what you really want, go for it and you will succeed.
Yep. So we, like I said, we interview folks because we're trying to determine the admissibility of you when it's time for us to help you in real life, right? When it's time to prep your application, when it's time to prep you for interviews, we want to make sure that you are at a place where you're reflective and deep enough to be able to answer the types of questions that you'll get asked in real life. And so one question I believe in, and I'm going to push our post-bac students in a year from now, which they'll all probably hate me a lot for this, is what is the value that you bring to the field? And I think if you can answer that question really well, and moving beyond your basic attributes of I'm driven, I'm hardworking, those types of things. And if you can really drill down to who you are as a person and the value that that brings to your career, I think that that would be a very strategic way to approach your application in general, any application. Because that's sort of, most applications are taking a more competencies-based approach anyway. So it's better to think about what are my skills, what do I bring to the table, have a really good reason for wanting to do post-bac. We know your grades. We know you need to fix your grades. That's a given. So why else, do you want to do this and try to be a little reflective about how you've changed? Because it's nice if you want to do it, but if you have no idea what you did wrong or how you're going to do it better this time, that's probably one of the biggest reasons we didn't accept somebody, is that they had no reflection about what they did wrong. If you can't take any ownership for the mistakes you made as an undergrad, if everything was something else, then I'm not sure that you're ready to do what you're going to have to do in order to do this well. Because there's going to be a significant amount of changes to your lifestyle, to your study habits, to just the way you think about yourself as you go through this journey. So, applicants have all of the experience they need to be successful. So this program is not designed to give people experiences. You should be ready to go when you start this program. We do have some PA students who are lacking some of the 1,000 hours. And for those folks, we are going to encourage them to take a year off after they graduate, but you can't bank on getting your hours while you're doing this. So we really prefer that everybody be ready to go. All you need to do is fix your grades, take the test, and we're going to send you into the application cycle to get accepted. Which is pretty exciting. All right. Well, I want to thank Vicki, Rachel, and Alex for taking time out of your busy lives right now and chatting with our crew tonight. If anybody has any questions, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to us by email and we can set up a time to chat. We'll be doing the webinars for the next once a month for the next 3 or 4 months. So if you didn't get enough of us tonight, feel free to come back and you can hear it all over again and ask different questions. And I want to thank everyone for coming. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug, for moderating.
No problem.